Something is off. These selfie takers, the ones with the 3-hour wellness routine, strict diet, and a drug problem, the ones who sacrifice their true personalities at the altar of confidence, they don't feel like people to be connected with. They feel like points to be proven, like brands. I spoke with one the other day, but it didn't feel like speech. It felt like instructions. See me like this and not like that. They're everywhere now, flaunting their performative virtue, signaling their immunity from the bad feelings. Guilt, sadness, anger, fear, they're all warnings. Now imagine driving your car and instead of checking the engine when the warning light appears, you slap a piece of tape over the dashboard. That's exactly how therapy culture treats negative emotions. Granted, many of these warning lights are faulty, but even then, the goal isn't to turn them off, it's to recalibrate them. We need negative emotions. They keep us grounded and imbue the human experience with an unmistakable sense of realness. Instead, we are creating a whole culture of performative mental health. We want to be seen as healed more than we want to heal, and ironically, it's born from a neurotic compulsion to be in complete control of your emotions, to be a spiritual dictator, an oppressor of bad moods who's capable of quelling any internal rebellion that threatens the sovereignty of your ego and its regime of lies. We've become so obsessed with feeling good that what counts as advice today is self-inflicted emotional manipulation. You failed at something, only if you define it as failure. Feeling hurt, only because you chose to be. Feeling anxious, no, you're just excited in disguise. You have a problem? No, you have an opportunity. We have completely lost our tolerance for emotional pain, so we're gaslighting ourselves. In a world of therapy culture where everyone's a fucking psychologist with a point to prove, we've been developing a fetish for happiness, and everyone seems to think that happiness means having 6 therapists, treating yourself like a problem to be solved, and waking up with a matcha latte before discussing your childhood trauma with a fucking barista. Granted, psychological concepts in the hands of professionals can be useful to help us explain our deeper issues. But today, they are used and abused to explain away any aspect of the human condition we find distasteful. And in doing so, we are turning altogether regular parts of human nature into threatening medical conditions, resisting them and therefore amplifying them. People aren't selfish anymore, they're narcissistic. They're not jealous, they are insecure. They're not emotional, they're bipolar. They're not shy, they have social anxiety. Granted, these are all real conditions, but people invoke their names to explain away any human behavior they refuse to acknowledge as reflective of themselves, or to diminish any human they don't understand. As a result, we are beginning to see the human condition as both a medical emergency and a moral failure. What happened to just being sad, being angry, being jealous and petty, being human? Since when did we come to see our humanity as a crime? Well, probably around the same time we began to see humans as an evil species. Oh, but it's not evil anymore, it's unresolved childhood trauma. But that doesn't stop us from resenting ourselves. With linguistic sleight of hand like this, we are rejecting our humanity and calling it enlightenment. We bleach our blood just so our wounds won't offend the passers-by. We think we're cleaning our souls, but we are sterilizing them. Social media has killed the privacy that protected our right to be human, and now we are just personal brands on legs, impersonating ourselves and commoditizing our qualities to capture the public eye. No wonder the digital spotlight has made us all masters of perception management. Even romantic relationships have become a matter of optics. They're glorified brand deals. We cannot stand ourselves. There's too much dirt on our faces, and yet we speak of self-love in the same breath that we denounce our entire species. We cannot love ourselves as we are, and so we put on a mask and outsource it to public opinion. Discipline, self-love, consistency, entrepreneurship, confidence. We're collecting trendy character traits like they're bumper stickers as if to say to the world, look, I became who you wanted me to. Can I eat my lunch with you now? And maybe if you cover yourself in enough of these stickers, nobody will see the acne-laden skin peeking out from underneath. And so that's where we are. In a culture where self-love is performative, where it's conditional and the conditions are perfection. Irony. We're all carrying an oppressive laundry list of the do's and don'ts of being a human, hoping that if we just follow the instructions well enough, then we'll finally feel as though we have a right to be the way we are. But what if the things you pride yourself on the most are actually the worst parts of you? What if they're just imitations? What if the parts you reject are the strongest? What if they're real? All the dirtiest souls taste like soap, the insecure speak of confidence, and the masochists preach self-love. The sadists ask for mercy, while those who never forgive themselves for anything rush to console those who do wrong by them. Our attention gravitates to the things we lack, so is it any surprise that our culture is so obsessed with tolerance? We can't tolerate ourselves. Instead, we pick and choose our identity like it's a fucking Build-A-Bear, sifting through the landfill of our memories and piecing together a sense of self from the scraps that haven't lost their shine. We're obsessed with rights because deep down we haven't granted ourselves the right to exist, at least not as we are. We promote non-violence while we violently contort ourselves into unnatural shapes for the sake of social convenience, and we resent the happy, for we recognize that they have not bothered themselves with the extra layer of customary suffering in which we feel obliged to participate lest we lose our sense of moral purity. To love yourself, your whole self, even the evil, disgusting and corrupt parts, to understand that you are not Superman and you never will be, and to stick the flag of identity into that rotten pile of failures and faults and say with your chest that this too is me, and anyone who doesn't like it can fuck off back to their own pile of baggage. That is perhaps the real achievement of self-love. Not bubble baths and pedicures and affirmations about the agreeable parts of yourself. To stand in the mirror and tell yourself you're smart and beautiful and confident and call that self-love is no different from painting over a crack in the wall and calling it maintenance. It looks like care, but really you're just neglecting the parts of yourself that need that love the most. The human soul is a committee of the voices in your head and the feelings in your heart. Not all the members of that committee are good. Some of them are insecure, some are vengeful, some are manipulative, and others want nothing more than to watch the world burn. It sounds dark, but it's true. All the worst crimes of history were done by humans, and you are one of them. It's easy to identify with the positive members of your committee of self, to notice that impulse within you to give money to a homeless man or love to a friend in need, and to call that you is easy. But to grant the ugly, faulty, and dirty aspects of you a seat at the table, and to fight for their right to be there with the same vigor with which you fight for survival, that is self-love. To let them sit atop their empire of dirt, not to clean them and scrub them with soap until their skin bleeds, but to acknowledge that they are you, in all their dirty rags and bad manners, and to let them eat at the table of your identity without apologizing to the guests. That's how you truly become whole. That's why all the dirtiest souls taste like soap.